Is this you?
Yes, sir.
SME? Okay. That should be a problem. Just pick the day.
All right. You sure? You want to check that where you say you're all in?
This is August, right?
Just started.
Just, we can talk.
Okay, sounds good.
I just got one conflict on Tuesday, but it's only an hour.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to the regular town council meeting of the town of Southern Shores. It's Tuesday, August 2nd. If you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Welcome, everyone. We'll take just a moment to have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Council, are there any amendments to our agenda, or is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have an agenda. Thank you. We have a couple of items on our consent agenda tonight. We have a number of budget amendments and the approval of last month's meeting minutes. Does anybody need to say anything about the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion, if possible, to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. A
I'll
second
second it.
and a second. Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. It's time now for our staff reports. In place of our Deputy Town Manager, Planning Director, Wes Haskett, who's not able to be with us this evening, is our Town Manager, Cliff. He'll double up next month. Did you want to talk about the planning board at all?
I can say that there's a request, they'll be on the planning board agenda next week, or excuse me, on the 15th, I think. A request to add dance studio to the permitted, the list of permitted uses. They had the group housing, shared housing on their last agenda that got pulled. That may be added at this point. We don't know whether or not that'll be added back. And I think those are the two key agenda items. Seems like there was a third, but
Okay.
just those two.
And it's Monday, August the 15th,
Yes, ma'am.
and the time would be
5
5 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have a report from our police chief, Chief Cole. Good evening, Chief Cole.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. The report for the police department for July of 2022. As you can see in the middle here, we had a call for service. We had 2,297 compared to 1,387 the year before. So that's about 910 more than the year before. Part of those are an increase in the business checks of about 638. We had quite a few more traffic stops than we did last year, and a lot of that was also pre-COVID. Under the incidents, which are the actual crimes that were reported, we had 20 of those, which resulted in 27 total offenses. As you can see, there were 2 larcenies, 4 drug-related, 3 drug equipment. We had 3 driving while intoxicated, 1 family offense, 3 call-outs for our canine. We had 1 overdose that was at the Food Lion. Our officers brought him back to life after shooting him twice with Narcan. And then after he was checked out by EMS, he was arrested and turned over to authorities on fugitive warrants out of Virginia.
Wow.
We had 1 animal bite, 1 warrant service, which was the overdose, 1 dispute, and under the criminal arrest, we had 10 criminal arrests for a total of 14 charges. 3 of those were the drug, 3 drug equipment, the DWIs, 1 for a hit and run, 2 for the warrants, and 6 traffic stops that the officers conducted. They wrote 37 written citations for a total of 61 charges, and another 119 warning citations for a total of 140 charges for the month of July. Some of the highlights on that you can see, there were 53 of them. That was for stop sign violations. Most of those were off of South Dogwood and East Dogwood. And then under the ordinances, our community resource officer issued 118 fail to display parking tickets. Another 9 were issued in the parking right of way. And 5 were for parking in restricted areas for a total of 132 total charges. And we had 12 reportable motor vehicle accidents for the month of July. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We have a report from our fire chief, Ed Limbacher. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So for the month of July, the fire department responded to 93 calls for the month. And it breaks down like this: 3 structure fires, 2 brush fires, 1 special fire, which actually was a grill next to a house, was our outside grease fire, 43 EMS calls, 3 vehicle accidents with injuries, 1 without, 2 stalled elevators, 3 surf rescue calls, 2 hazardous condition, 1 gasoline leak, which was actually at the pump, so it wasn't much of a leak, but 6 service calls, which are basically our address signs in our wheelchair program, 1 assist the police, 2 public service, 1 good intent, 1 no incident found at the address when dispatched to, 2 smoke scare, 15 fire alarms, 1 weather-related, and 1 lightning strike, no fire. And that compares to last year. We're just behind at 95 last year. So still overall for the fire department, we're ahead this year than we were last year at this time. So anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Ed?
No, I don't have any.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Chief. Appreciate it. Next up is Cliff, our town manager, with a few updates.
Okay. First, I wanted to start with the beach nourishment schedule. It has changed again. And you can see now that town of Southern Shores, we're looking at mid-September. I talked to Ken Wilson today, and that could be mid to late September. Part of the issue they've had is that the 2 main dredges that have been working this project, the RN Weeks, went in for maintenance on July the 22nd. That was regular scheduled maintenance and inspections. And their big dredge, the Lindholm, needed repairs July 2nd, and it hasn't pumped since July 2nd. And they hope to have it back. And The schedule you saw before showed August 1st, they would start back in Kitty Hawk. It's going to be about August 15th before they start in Kitty Hawk. That's why we're later, because our project follows the Kitty Hawk project. September's, I'd be very nervous if I were at the town of Duck, because, they're looking into November when they're going to be pumping. And this project's substantial completion is dated for December 31st. January 1st, they'll start liquidated damages unless something's worked out. But from what Ken Wilson, the engineer on this project, shared with me is that he thinks their intent is to stay on the job until they finish it. And that ocean's been as flat as I've seen it for a month. And so they've missed some wonderful weather for dredging. But, I think it's changed twice since I've last reported this. It's very likely it could change again. But this is the latest. Hopefully they can get it back. And when they do get back on track, every 2 weeks there's a meeting. The agencies, all regulatory agencies get together, they sit around the table, and they go through what's working and what's not working and what those issues are. Those meetings are at 11:30. At 1:30, the general public's invited to come and meet with some of those regulatory agency folks and with Ken from CPE to ask whatever questions they may have about the project. And if you'll go to the next, and I don't know but one of the things that we'll get from a daily report is it'll look something like this. This is yesterday's, and it'll go through, and it's a daily checklist. Right down to citizens' concerns or complaints. Under the observations under this one, or items discussed with contractor superintendent. They're talking about things about a wooden fence on private property, about a lid for a dumpster, and so some of this gets right down to detail. This is what we'll get on a daily basis once they start here in Southern Shores. How much equipment's worked, if there's been any turtle takings, incidental or otherwise. It's a pretty thorough report that'll be available to the public. And those meetings that I mentioned, they've moved up the beach. They'll be in Kitty Hawk now that they're starting there. When they're done with that project, they'll move those meetings to Southern Shores. All right.
Is the work south to north?
Not directly. I mean, it depends. They'll put in two lines right into the beach, and they'll pump north and south of that line. And so they're kind of flip-flopping in four different directions. But it's not a straight process north. But they will start for us at this end. They'll start with the line will come in, and then they'll pump south, and then they'll flip it and go north. I think I got traffic next. All right, so this is what we put out in our newsletter on Friday. This was the schedule Friday afternoon, and if you go to the next, this was the schedule at 7 a.m. Monday morning. Around and some confusion. Then starting at 12th Avenue, they've obviously started at South Dogwood. I've asked for an updated schedule, and as soon as I get that, I'll share it. It too could change, but the idea was this is to get this work out of the way as quickly as possible. And you'll see the dates there, September 13th through the 16th and the 26th. That's 5 days. And so my assumption is SEPIA's same assumption SEPIA has is they'll just August 15th and start from there. But again, as soon as this is updated, we'll share it. Let's see, next, I wanted to talk about the water line that broke. There's a long list of folks that I need to thank for getting done. It was a pretty big, obviously big interruption. Put 7,000 cars on South Dogwood Thursday as a result of this closure. And typically we have 3,000 to 4,000 on a Saturday. So that'll just pretty much sum it up as to the magnitude of this. But this picture was taken at 8 o'clock Thursday morning. You can kind of see to the right of the picture there, That's the crosswalk light. That's the solar crosswalk. And initially there was discussion, well, a lightning strike is what caused this break. The thought initially was it struck there, but I spoke with Pat Irwin, who's the head of the Dare County Water Department. Really, the lightning could have struck anywhere in the area and caused the damage to the line. The next one. So this was by 11 o'clock. Thousands of gallons of water spilled between that time and this time. But this shows about 3 hours after that picture was taken, our light is still sitting there and it actually works. It was flashing while I was sitting in that water. And so that's, all that water was condensed down to this hole. They're just pumping it out so they can get to the break. And this, that's the line. It ran parallel to the road. It looks like it was under the road the way it undermined, but it was right there at the edge. This shows that's where the pipe cracked. It just split. It didn't, it was kind of you can barely see a little bit of water trickling out of the bottom of that, but that split in that pipe caused a pretty major disruption. This was about 5 o'clock that afternoon. Hatchell Concrete, once the break was located, Hatchell Concrete did the repairs to the line, and they got the road to this state of repair. And then after that, about 7 o'clock, the Fred Smith, who both Hatch Concrete and Fred Smith are under contract with the county to quickly mobilize when things like this happen. And so that's where we were about 7. And then I think that's it. And then the road opened up about 8 o'clock. Initially, the thought was it would open at 6, but they had some issues in place. Let's see, I think the next day it was striped. We'll have to come back to this road sometime in the fall because it was a quick repair. It's gonna need some other repairs. The road was painted. It'll need to be thermostriped, so they'll have to come back in the fall and still do some work. But there were a lot of people that played a big role in this. Southern Shores Volunteer Fire Department were, I think the first one's there and the last ones to leave. They actually sprayed that asphalt so we could get it cooled off fast enough for the cars to go. The police department, obviously, they had their hands full and they were, directing traffic. Our admin staff, our own town clerk who was on vacation was answering emails and sending out notices. Public Works had a longer day than they typically would. They stayed to help with the traffic. Dare County Emergency Management had someone there for the whole duration. Dare County PIO helped coordinate their messages. It's a unique situation where you have the Dare County water line break serves their customers. It's in the town of Southern Shores and it's a DOT road. There are a lot of different players involved. Obviously, Dare County Water and Hatchell Concrete, who did both the repair to the line and the road, and then Fred Smith that did the paving. DOT was there. And the way it works is it's not DOT's responsibility. They didn't break it. They don't fix it. The county broke it, or act of God broke it. And so it was the county's responsibility to have that fixed. So really, it was just my opportunity of saying, sorry for the inconvenience of how, it just showed us how vulnerable we are. But I did just want to thank all our staff and those that helped with that.
Thank you, Cliff.
And then lastly, the traffic, we're going to put the barricades back up this weekend. We've said before that just before July 4th, we decided to take them down because it felt like the barricades were backing traffic all the way up to, almost all the way back to the bypass up to the school. Last weekend, the traffic was just as bad as, if not worse than it was July 4th. I'm hopeful that we've seen the worst of it and we can get back to where we might be able to try and manage some of that traffic and try and keep as many folks as we can. Again, if we get two cars not to make a left turn, it's 2 less cars that are on that street. And so we'll put those barricades back starting Friday evening, take them down Monday morning.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
Should we say thanks?
I'll start because I'm sure other council members want to say something about Thursday a week ago. I think it's time, an incident like that, major disruption, potential health issues with water quality for drinking. It was a big event in our town, and I think when things like that happen, you learn a lot about who is working for the community. And what we learned is we have some really good people that are working for us, and I personally would like to thank everyone for the professional and long hours that were put in that day. Great outcome, and I can't thank you enough for your professionalism. Anybody else want to say something?
I would just say absolutely. I live pretty close to that water main break, and so I had to beg the police to let me in and out of Southern Shores. But I was so impressed, and also to know that our fire and police departments had emergency plans in case there were any emergencies north of where that water main break was, which would have been, a terrible thing. So I just thought it was a long day for everybody, but I had a number of calls from residents who were very impressed, and I just want to thank all of you so much. It was a great, great effort.
Anybody else?
Just want to thank the whole crew that was involved with that. But the thing I was thinking about, what that did was told us how fragile our infrastructure is and how important Highway 12 is to the commerce, because we had businesses north of there that needed to be served. And I guess the fortunate thing would be, thank God it was not north of 13th Avenue, because there had been no workaround where we had here. So there was a lesson learned there, and I hope we kind of look at that. That whole infrastructure is very fragile. That's all I got.
Thanks, Leo.
I would echo everything that you all have said, and the professionalism and expediency that you guys responded was pretty impressive.
Amazing.
I know the amount of coordination that had to go and getting all that put back together, get the pipe fixed, get it excavated, get it removed, get it dewatered. That was a hell of a day, and y'all did a hell of a job. Thank you.
Can't say it enough. Can't say it enough.
Good job.
It's my pleasure now to reintroduce our new town attorney, Mr. Philip Hunterthal. Welcome again.
Thank you, guys. It's our pleasure to continue to serve. Our firm has been fortunate to serve the town for many years, and I hope I don't let you guys down.
Very good. Did you have anything for us at this time?
No, there's some matters for closed session later.
Right, we'll be having a closed session later on. Thank you, sir.
Can I just ask my perennial question? Any update at all on the brief that we filed in the Mid-Currituck Bridge litigation?
We've heard nothing,
Nothing.
but that's not unusual.
All right.
Once the briefs are filed, as you're aware, things can sit for a while.
Okay.
Do we have a schedule when it's going to be heard, or?
We've not received notice yet.
Okay.
Typically, what the court will do, we'll send a schedule out and let you know when arguments will be heard, and thus far.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Philip.
Sure.
It's now time on our agenda for general public comment. Did we have someone sign up? Not for the first comment period. Okay. All right. Moving right along. No old business. Our first new business item is on page 13, Council. And it is the Southern Shores Fire Department appointment of a Southern Shores citizen as a trustee to the Relief Fund Board. Chief Limbacher?
So just of 5 members, 2 of which council appoints, and then 3 of which are fire department members. So we had one that moved out of town that served on there for several years, and we were lucky enough, well, unlucky enough, I guess, to say that Tim left the department as a member, but is still a citizen. So we thought that we would utilize him as a Relief Fund Board member appointed by the town. So Tim is how long have you lived in Southern Shores? I don't even know, forever, as far as I know, but.
Southern Shores, 22 years.
Tim was a the helicopter paramedic for Dare County EMS for again, everybody. He's like a fixture in the county, so well-known to those that are familiar with him. And I think he'll serve as a well member on the trustee for the board.
That's great. Wonderful. Thanks for being here tonight, Tim. Good to see you again, and thank you for considering this opportunity. So, council, if I could respectfully request a motion to appoint Tim Rhodes as a trustee to the Southern Shores Fire District Firefighters Relief Fund Board of Trustees.
I move that we appoint Tim Rhodes as trustee to the Southern Shores Fire District Firefighters Relief Fund Board of Trustees.
I'll second it.
We have thank you very much. Motion and a second. Anybody need to discuss anything any further? All those in favor?
Aye.
And thank you.
Carries 5-0. Thanks again, Tim, very much. Okay. Moving on. Page 14, council. Certification of municipal declaration to repeal speed limits and request concurrence. Cliff, do you want to walk us through this one? Thank you.
Okay, so the item for you all to consider is reducing the speed limit on NC 12 through the duration of town, the whole length of town, from 45 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. Presently, as you know, from May 15 to September 15, the speed limit's 35 from the south town line to Trout, about Trout Run, and then it bumps up to 45. Well, actually, it was May of 21. There was discussion about a resolution requesting DOT to lower the speed limit to 35. The council at that time felt like they didn't have enough information to know what that recommended or appropriate speed would be. So DOT started to do a traffic study, and they did it up till about June of this year. They got started late in that season, but they wanted to do it for a full year. It's important to note that the general statutes give you the authority to set the speed limit, even though it's a state road. It's 20-141F. It says, whenever local authorities within their respective jurisdictions determine upon the basis of an engineering and traffic investigation, which we have now, that any speed herein before set forth is greater than, is reasonably and safe, said local authority shall determine and declare a safe and reasonable speed limit. So DOT is not going to change the speed limit unless you all request it and make that determination. Go to the next slide. The speed is not the only thing that determines their recommendation. Actually, I can't read that. Go to the next one if you would. Sorry. This is just an example of some of the things that go into the study, and the traffic engineer he'll base the speed, he'll base all these things. This is an input, data input, and recommendation comes out of part of it. It's based on crashes. It's based on the used pedestrians, curb cuts. It's a lot more than just speed. And so when evaluates all of that, it comes up with a recommendation that the state approves, and what they've recommended is 35 for the full length. You have some options here, but you also have a engineer's report that recommends 35 miles per hour for the full length of that road. And that's kind of where I think you should be. Excuse me, full length of NC 12.
All the way to Duck,
So this,
all the way to Duck Lane, because
yes.
what we have here says Trout Run.
Well, that's one option. You know, right now it's 35 from May 15 to September
Right.
15 to Trout. You could extend it to 35 the full length of the road during that time. And I forgot, there's the test that spits now, and that's 40 for the full length. But again, that doesn't, the whole picture that a traffic engineer would take into account. So, I mean, I know it's a big decision, but it's kind of where we are. It's really your recommendation to make. Whatever your recommendation is that's based on that study, that's what DOT will concur with.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
So Leo and Matt and I were on the council when this came up before. And I know Leo has served on the council before, and I believe he would tell you that it has come up even further back in history.
Yes.
We often get requests from residents to consider lowering the speed limit on NC 12 in town, through town. And we had a terrible accident last year, and that's what prompted getting this study from NCDOT. So now we have some data to back it up with, or to at least, not maybe back it up, but some data to use in order to make a decision about what to do about the speed limit. I guess I would ask just for a couple of highlights. On page 16, the crash data, which is a 5-year period of time from 2017 to 2022. And the crash rate is higher than the statewide rate for this type of road. I thought that was significant. Is there anything, that was the one that stood out to me. I don't know if anyone else has other
Well,
data that they wanted to point out in public here tonight.
Well, I'll just make sure everybody knows, this report is over 50 pages long. It is
It's very
extremely,
detailed.
extremely detailed as to, all the things that Cliff mentioned that they studied. And the things that really stood out to me were the number of residential driveways affected, 202. And I know a lot of us have a lot of trouble getting in and out of our driveways, and an increased speed limit doesn't help. There are 21 intersections with no light, and I think there are 4 that have lights.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
There are a number of crosswalks, and I know that residents want more crosswalks, but I don't think it's really safe to be putting crosswalks when you've got a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. If you reduce it to 35, then I think people have a chance of safely getting across the road. They also mentioned that one of the complications for Southern Shores is we have a lot of we don't have a lot of big curves, but we've got a lot of vegetation that makes some of our driving a little bit more, that minimizes sight distance, is the way they phrased it. And again, I agree with Elizabeth that the total rate, our crash rate was 78.88 per 100 million VMT, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, where the statewide rate is only 60. And that's over a 5-year period. And I think that's, for a residential area, I think that's pretty significant. I think there's also a value of having a consistent speed limit through the whole town, because then you hit duck and it goes back to 25. So that's just crosswalks, crash rates, intersections, driveways, consistency. That's sort of what I saw when I read this.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Anybody else?
This
speak.
this would be year-round, am I
Well, that was
correct?
what, couple, I mean, I see as many crashes at 5 and 10 mile an hour in the report as 45, and a lot of them are rear end, some are traffic, but I guess, would this automatically have to be year round? Or I see consistency. If we're going to do part of it in the summer, we should do the whole stretch. But I don't necessarily see the need to do it year round. Are we asking for year round?
What was the recommendation
The
for
recommendations
year-round?
are around.
NCDOT rec was year-round.
During the full year, yeah.
Well, and if everybody drove the speed limit, but the truth is, if it's 35, people drive 40. If it's 45, they drive 50, so,
Or more.
or more. So, but I agree, the crash data, a lot of them are low-speed crashes because they're rear ends.
You can scroll pages without seeing anything over 30. Then there'd be a group of a couple of 45 mile an hour crashes or something.
Right.
And they ran, it could be April of 2018. So,
Does the police department have an opinion?
I'll let you all decide. I just want you to understand that the majority of those accidents, 90% of them, they actually occurred in the 35-mile-an-hour zone already. They're mostly rear enders. I can tell you that it'll take, if you decrease it to 35 or 45, it's going to take you an additional 3 minutes to get it done. The only other concern I have, and I've had this for several years, is that once that's 35 miles an hour, low speed vehicles can go all the way to Duck.
Well, they can go to Duck, or they can go all the way down to Nags Head.
That's correct, but not on this road.
No, that's correct.
But they will be.
If we change it, they could go there all the way north of Duck, down to there.
Well, just,
Well, I see.
Go ahead,
I
Mark.
mean, up the Trout Run, there are, I think I counted 11 crosswalks. I mean, that is incredibly vulnerable there, and they do not stop people who are in line. And who owns the traffic lights? Is that the city, is that the state? Yeah, the button doesn't work at Chickahaw and people are the other day, I mean, because they got tired of waiting. I mean, they're waiting to happen. It's scary.
It works, but people are very impatient.
35 there, but nobody was doing 35. I mean, they were all doing 45.
Yeah, that's a dangerous intersection because I go through it a lot
Yeah.
and you see, well, they don't always go through at the crosswalk. They're on various parts of it. And it's,
That's why I have the traffic signal.
yes, Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But the traffic signal one, they just, well, they're impatient and across they go. And I had an experience Monday night coming home. Unfortunately, I happened to see the person. Otherwise, I would have hit him and I was able to stop. So it was dark. They had dark clothes on and they didn't have the right of way, but they took it.
I think, well, you know, the traffic, if we go to 35, that's what, 3 minutes? Is that what you said? Chief? 3 or 4 minutes. As long as we can get tradesmen to believe that. We're going up and down that road religiously in the
Mhm.
morning and then at night.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
going to crawl. I mean, it's a parade starting at 7
Yeah,
o'clock.
yeah,
doesn't
before.
go Till 9.
Mhm.
But it starts
And
at
then it starts
6.
at 4 and it's 6:30 before
Well-
the parade ends when they're coming home
I-
and they're moving.
Well, in the morning, I can attest to that they're moving because I'm always walking
Yeah.
out there. But coming home, they are a little slower because there's more traffic.
Yeah.
But in the
But if
morning,
they-
there's not the
if they
traffic. and
could go the speed limit, they would,
Yeah.
or more.
But they're moving.
But
Yeah.
this is, I think, kind of a global thing. You know, any road, you go out here and go north on 158, speed limit is 55. And if you're doing 55, you're going to get pushed off the road. And on 95, it's
Well,
worse.
Well, it's 45 now, but.
Well, that's only
I
for
forgot
that
Coming
section.
home this afternoon.
Did they write you up?
No, thank God nobody was there. But North Carolina have patrolled it out.
Yeah.
They,
From the water park down to the bridge,
I went up
which
there.
doesn't make sense. Then you go to 55 on the bridge.
And here again, their reasoning was because of the number of accidents
Yeah.
that we had there,
Mhm.
or that's been there.
I think if we do it, we need to do it all the way to the town line.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I thought the NCDOT report, another interesting thing about off-season or on-season, that mid-May to mid-September doesn't really hold true for us anymore. I mean, we've
Yep.
got traffic year-round.
Right.
So, I mean, yes, it's worse on turnover days and it's worse during the summer, but it's pretty amazing all year.
January is the only off month, and even that's not.
I don't,
hardly,
no,
Because you got a holiday weekend. I think-
Commerce continues.
yes. Yeah, there's still tractor trailers, whatever, going up there.
Well, and
along
the
with
other
others.
thing we know for certain is that speed matters when there is an accident. In other words, when there's a vehicle on vehicle or a vehicle on bicycle or a vehicle on pedestrian, speed of the vehicle matters.
Mhm.
And if we have, I think, if we have a 35 rather than a 45, we'll have potentially better outcomes when we have those interactions because we know they're coming. Because if they can go the speed limit, they will.
I think vehicle on pedestrian or cyclist.
It's
gonna
not a
make
good,
hill of
it's not a,
beans.
it's not a good potential outcome.
And I'll tell you, can you guy get a ticket if he runs the bike stop on a bicycle? Does the police department give tickets for those?
Attitude is everything.
That's what I thought. The e-bikes, there's tons of e-bikes here now. I mean, if you guys have looked, these guys are blowing, they blow the one over here at Juniper and 58. They don't even look at what's coming off. It's scary.
They'll be shown to be at fault.
Yeah. Okay, there's gonna be, I think the e-bikes, we gotta slow, they're not looking. They are just buzzing through these intersections.
And the bad part, if you're walking on, if they're on,
I have
the
an e-bike though.
yeah, but if you're on the path with them, because I've almost got hit twice, and you don't hear them, and they don't signal that they're to your left. That's bicycle etiquette there, but,
Yeah.
I think we'll have something down the road anyway.
but they don't stop on these out here
They
either.
don't stop. It's scary. They're gonna get hit. All right,
So,
we ready?
Council, I'd like to respectfully request, are we ready to consider a motion?
I am.
Okay, Paul?
Okay, in accordance with the recommendation by NCDOT and the recommendation of our staff, I move that we repeal the present speed limits on NC 12 throughout Southern Shores and set the speed limit to 35 miles an hour during the full year.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I didn't hear this motion that's year round.
Yes, right
I
here.
didn't hear that part, sorry. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by council? Okay. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
I'm aye with the in
Okay.
favor.
5-0, the motion carries. Thank you, council. Appreciate it very much.
Just a question to Cliff. When will they start putting the speed limit signs up at 35 all the way?
I think the division engineer can, I don't think this has to go to a next step at the state. I think they've already done that. So I think the division engineer can sign off on that. And as soon as they can get all those signs in place, it could occur pretty quickly.
Okay, because it took a little time over on 158 to get them in.
We probably ought to have the e-sign telling people that it's 35 year
Yeah.
round. We're probably gonna need it in the fall when things slow down, telling everybody it's 35 year round.
And well, I can't speak for the chief, but I don't think he'll start writing tickets for 36.
Well, they'll be hiding everywhere.
Yeah.
There'll be a grace period, just like there is when.
Right.
when they've already here.
Mhm.
They were on the same day with issues this week. To be fair, we'll give them probably at least a month or
Oh, months.
so. Get used to it.
Okay, next agenda item, council, is on page 84. Consideration of Cameron Land Use Plan update proposals. And again, we're unable to have Wes with us this evening, so it defaults to Cliff to walk us through this agenda item.
Back in February, you had a retreat, and the topic of the land use plan was, you guys were pretty much clear that this was going to be a priority moving forward and something we needed to get started on sooner rather than later. So knowing that, Wes put a RFP out on July 1st. Submittals were due July 22nd. We only got 2 respondents. From what I understand, Kitty Hawk's doing the same thing, and they got 1. So it's not that uncommon. I think anyone who is a consultant or an engineer or has something at the end of their name, they're mighty busy. Wes did reach out to a third to try and find out why we only got the 2. And for those reasons, they just felt like they were overworked and couldn't put together a good plan for us. So we've got 2, one from Stewart and one from Infocus. Staff's recommending Stewart. It is the more expensive of the 2. And it is exactly what we budgeted. We budgeted $80,000 and their proposal was $80,000. So somebody must have been paying attention. But I think it's really important. We're required to do this from North Carolina 160D with the changes for the land use and zoning. We're required to have an updated comprehensive land use plan. Ours is 2012. And so I don't think we're getting past reasonable when it comes to having a reasonably updated plan. So this will also satisfy our requirement for our CAMA land use plan. But the thing that I particularly liked about Stewart was they understood that the CAMA land use plan is a check in a box. That's a requirement that we must have. But the town's comprehensive land use plan will go beyond just those requirements. If you look at both of their understanding of the project, In Focus was pretty brief. They had just not even a full page of how they were going to attack this project. Stewart, they had done their homework. They actually had picked up on the traffic. They had picked up on public beach act. I mean, they have a picture of where a community not a cut through in their packet. So they aren't just going out and taking pictures off the internet. They've got pictures of our traffic, and they've got pictures of our beach access, and they are talking about the issues that affect us. They've got understanding of the septic tanks and the vulnerability that we have with groundwater intrusion, and all of those issues as well. So I just feel like we're going to get a better product from Stewart, and it's important that they understand and recognize how important it is that we get the full community's input on this, and I think they get it, and that'll be an outcome of this project.
How long do these normally last? I mean, looking at the different, the two proposals, it looked like these are like 12 to 15 month projects.
Yep, I think they're both pretty much
And do they
identical.
Do they complete them on time, to your knowledge?
That's up, yeah, well, probably more often than not, they don't.
They don't.
But I think it's going to be largely driven by us. And, they're only going to go so far with their budget. And at some point, they've done what they said they were going to do. But I think a lot of it depends on us, because we're the ones driving this. The community is the one that's driving this project. And we don't need to be done with this until we're satisfied that we have that input. But I think the general thought is, like you said, 12 months to 15 months.
So if they run up against the budget and they come back for more money,
That's right.
is there any kind of history that let us know whether that happened? I was just looking at Beaufort when they were down there, and they were supposed to be done in April, but they're not.
Right.
Hadn't been adopted yet. I mean, that's one of the ones they did. I'm sure they ran into some complications like they would here.
Yeah, Stewart's done a lot of these. Well, they both have. They've both done a lot of these projects. So they know what they're getting into, and we can be extremely clear from the beginning what our expectation is.
Okay.
It seemed to me the last land use plan took about 2 years before it got all put together, because you end up with public input, and then you end up with changes being made. And so it does take a little time to do one of these and to do them properly. But the last one I know took some time.
So then it's adopted by the council, or
That's right.
is that how it works then?
Right.
Yes.
It'll be vetted through I guess it depends. We put together a committee and work from there. The planning board will have some involvement.
Yes.
I thought the Stewart presentation was much better than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a hard time following the other one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Stewart was
yeah.
pretty straightforward. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the Stewart presentation. Like you said, they have picked up on a lot of very current issues that we're dealing with.
And it's important that note that they've recently done the town of Duck and the town of Manio, and they were both pleased.
Right. And they also put an emphasis on public participation in the whole process.
Yes.
And I would hope that that would be very, very broad-based. And it would hopefully include people on the ocean, people on the sound, people in the dunes, address environmental concerns that we all have. But I would go with Stewart.
Now, they're proposing, you see there in month 3, a public survey that'll hopefully address some of the issues you're talking
Right,
about.
they had a lot of emphasis on that.
Then there's a workshop. There's quite a bit of work, planning board, town council. Yeah, they're talking about 11, at least 11 months there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, council. Yeah, I spoke with the town of Manio. Now she's the town manager. And wanted to know what her experience was with this particular consulting group, and she spoke highly of them. So,
Good.
I did not have a chance to talk with the
They have great credentials.
town duck, so. So council, are we ready to entertain a motion?
I move that we accept Stewart's proposal to update the town's CAMA land use plan and authorization to issue a notice of proceed based on the budget estimate of $80,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns before we take a vote?
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Really looking forward to getting this off the ground
Yes,
and to
it
getting
moving.
public participation, and I hope it's robust, and everybody take some time to
Absolutely.
participate. Let us know what they think. Next on our agenda is public hearing, ZTA 2207, which is on page 147 of our book. And I think at this point, we're going to hand it off to Philip to run the public hearing. Or if you're not comfortable, you can do this.
No, sure.
You just got to be able to see it.
Opening the public hearing, ZTA 22-07.
Okay.
Is there a sign up?
And so Philip, I'll step into your zone just for a second, because normally we would have staff, Wes Haskett would be here to do the staff presentation, but Wes is not here, so
Agenda summary form.
I guess Cliff is going to do that?
Yeah, I can do this real quick because it's one of those things that came, the 160D requirements that changed the word conditional to special. And I can't tell you why. I can't explain it. I don't know the difference between the two. But everywhere in our ordinance now, and I forgot how many places that change has to occur. So, I don't want to stand here and tell you what you have to do, but you have to do this. You have to make this change.
Because the state recommended it, right? The state mandated it.
Mandate it.
There's like something-
No one has signed up to speak, so at this point, I'll close the public hearing.
Very good.
There's like 27 different
Thanks,
areas.
Philip. You did a great job.
So
This-
we're wordsmithing this thing.
That's,
Sure.
I think.
We're
I think-
changing to conform.
Yeah.
I think there was about 15 or 20 different places in this chapter where, which Wes was kind enough to summarize for all of us council members, so we didn't have to look through the 147 pages or whatever it was. So thank you for doing that, Wes. I don't think this really needs any discussion, and
No,
I'm
it's just
not seeing any.
housekeeping.
So could I hear a motion, please?
I move that we approve ZTA 22-07.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Get it off the table.
All those ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Fastest public hearing in history. All right, next we have, moving right along, approval of planning board officers. Page 150 in your books.
150? 292, isn't it?
292.
Oh, depending on which page numbering you got.
So
I got 292.
Okay, that works too. Approval of planning board officers. At the July 18th, 2022 planning board meeting, the board reelected Andy Ward as chair and Tony DiBernardo as vice chair. And the code states that if approved, that gets forwarded to town council. And the requested action is a motion to approve both of those folks as chair and vice chair of our planning board. So in a nutshell, that's what we're looking at. Is there any comments or concerns or questions or anything by council?
You know, I think they've both done an outstanding job.
Very
Great
good.
public
need
service.
a motion?
Could we have a motion to approve? Yes.
Yeah, I move to approve Andy Ward as chairperson and Tony DiBernardo as vice chairman of the planning board and thank them for their service.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. And I thank the planning board members and their chair and vice chair for all their hard work. It's not an easy job. Last new business item, tourism board grant sidewalk on east side of NC 12 between NC 12/Ocean Boulevard, split to East Dogwood, the next page in your book. So this one I will ask Cliff to lend a hand.
Again, going back to February when you had, was it March? It was February or March when you had retreat. Coming out of that was direction for staff to put together a path plan where the locations are left in town that we need to prioritize to put paths. This is part of that. This is a request to apply for a Dare County Tourism Impact Grant. The applications are due next month. This would put a sidewalk on the east side of NC 12 from where the road splits at Ocean Boulevard, 5-foot wide path, about 3,900 linear feet, 3,696 linear feet up to East Dogwood. The town engineer has estimated a cost of $164,256, which includes a 20% contingency. The Tourist Bureau grants is anything over 150,000, they will fund up to $50,000. That doesn't mean
50.
it will be, 50%. So if they were to award that, and they don't have to, they can award less than that, the cost to the town would be $82,128. So we're estimating that to be best case, and then it'll go down from there depending on how much we get funded.
Very good. Thank you, Cliff. Any questions for Cliff from council?
What's the area again from the split on Ocean Boulevard
Dogwood.
to East Dogwood?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
from
Triangle Park to East Dogwood.
That's
on the
correct.
East side. Okay.
Yep.
We've had,
Our plan is, and I think it's something
They
you'll,
have that on both sides of the road there.
Right.
Yeah.
we've had a
Yes.
request from
Yes,
some,
sir.
we've had a request from some people for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
many requests.
If you ever watch people walking there, it's scary.
Oh, it's
Pardon?
terrible.
If you ever
place.
watch people walking there, it's scary.
It's very.
Oh,
scary.
yeah.
Man,
and I would assume this is going to be a part of the land use plan, part of that comment, so you can get some more input as to the priority of these segments of path.
Yeah, because our discussion at our retreat was pretty robust, and we were all diving into, the list that the staff had put together for us, and we were all, looking at, would we do this? So we switched some priorities around, and this is where we ended up with as being number one. But the opportunity to have the community weigh in on what they would like to see in terms of locations of sidewalks, I think is going to be a great thing through our update on our land use plan. Because I'm a big fan of sidewalks. I use them a lot personally.
Well, it's just a dangerous area. I mean, people, just like Matt said, people cannot access the ocean. They can't, there's bushes on the side of the road. We've had a number of people attend town hall meetings and ask for this. So I think it's great if we can get a grant. That's terrific.
Very good.
Where are we at all on the sidewalk there at Chickahawk?
We're going to,
At the, 12 there. I think they're all walking in, they're walking in the street.
We're going to bid that again in the fall. We bid it, we tried to bid it in time to get it done before the summer, but the price was just
Yeah, I know, it's
Crazy.
outrageous.
unreal. And so we're going to work to try and get that price down. We honestly, we pushed that, tried to get it done in a hurry. And so I think we may have some, if we have time,
Yeah,
we may get better bids from more contractors.
I know it's different. Is there any way you can put up those rubber barriers or,
We put some,
just to try to keep them on the sidewalk? I mean,
Yeah.
single file, I mean, they're.
we put some, but we got to go further back up.
Yeah, all the way back to the parking lot is where it needs to start. Yeah, where they park.
The challenge when you're walking there is stuff for people, and specific if they're bringing beach equipment. I can tell you, there's not room. So you're gonna be out on the street. Yeah, surfboard or one of those little buggies they got. But that's what you see, and
Yeah.
then you're out there on the, and I myself have been out there on the street.
I'm prepared to make a motion to approve submittal of Dare County Tourism Board Tourism Impact Grant for the sidewalk from the split at Ocean Boulevard to East Dogwood intersection.
Thank you, Matt. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. All right. Now, general public comment. We do have some folks. Thank you. Very good. So the way this works for anyone who has not done this before is I'm going to call your name out. You come up to the podium, tell us your name, where you live, and you get approximately 3 minutes to make public comment. So we got Jerica Ray. Good evening, Jerica.
All right, my name is Jerica. I live on Seotes Trail in Southern Shores. I am here tonight to ask the council to consider an amendment to Code 424 regarding the ban of fowl in the town. I've spent the last few months researching the concerns of residents and communicating with the town my desire to have chickens allowed in the neighborhood. The most common concerns I've heard about are smell, noise, and drawing in predators. But all of those issues have been proven to be successfully managed through regulation. There's data to show that hens are incredibly beneficial. They cut down on disease, they cut down on ticks, mosquitoes, pests, and they also provide compost and eggs. They offer mental health support to people and companionship for folks that don't want the lifespan of a dog or a cat. And new data that I have, I spoke with Rob Testerman, the Director of Planning for Kitty Hawk, and was told that they have not received any nuisance complaints regarding chickens in the town. They have no regulations, and they don't have anything in their ordinance prohibiting them. And then I also spoke with the town of Kill Devil Hills and their animal control department, Chris Allen. In 2013, they began allowing hens in Kill Devil Hills, and since then they've issued 36 permits, 32 of which are still valid. And in that 9 years, they have also had 0 nuisance complaints. So 0.01% of their population has decided to own chickens, and it has affected nobody negatively, it seems like. It's been publicly acknowledged throughout the town that there are people that keep hens here already. I think they haven't really caused much of an issue. I wish it stays that way. But I think it is really important to, in a timely manner, decide what we would like to do about this. It affects people currently and in the future, and it makes it safe for everybody to do so if they choose. They don't strain police resources. Obviously, there's no complaints anywhere else. They don't affect property values. Property values are skyrocketing anyway. The regulations control smell versus waste management, and they control when they're put in and when they're let out. So there's no noise issues with evenings or keeping people up at night. But I think with 9 years of data to show us how we can successfully do this and how we can work together to find a compromise between people that are opposed to this and who wish to have it, I think we have a lot to back that up at this point. And I hope you will consider it.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jerica.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, my apologies. This is my first meeting. I did not know I needed to sign up to speak, but might I beg 3 minutes to be very brief?
Yes, may I have your name, and I'll put you on the sheet here.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you,
It's Carol Willett. I live at 291 Seals Trail. I've been a resident here since 2006. And all I wish to say to members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, is that our community has changed since 2006. When I first built my home, we were primarily rental from Hickory all the way up to the turnoff to Duck. There were legitimate concerns among the homeowners who rented their property about having any kind of animals on the property, other than the dogs that the visitors brought, who they did not police after, but nonetheless, there were some legitimate concerns. Now, in 2022, our street from Hickory virtually to Dock are permanent residents. I live next door to Ms. Rhea. I have no objection to her having chickens. Chickens have a decibel level of less than 20, which is less than my hot tub. And as long as there's not a rooster cock-a-doodle-dooing at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, I see no reason why not to have some birds reduce the tick population, which, given our blessed oak trees, which I dearly love, we attract a lot of ticks. That and the lovegrass. So I would just ask the council to consider that the nature of the community has indeed evolved since the first guidance was laid down. And perhaps that guidance was appropriate then, but this is now. And perhaps it's time to reconsider. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
appreciate it. And our last gentleman that's signed up, Mr. Rosso, Ron Rosso. Welcome, Ron.
Mayor, council. My name is Ron Rossa. I live on High Dune Loop here in Southern Shores. I've been a resident here for 20 years, and I'm here to also support Jerica in her plan here. I think there's still a lot of questions to be answered and a lot of misunderstandings to be cleared up with this. But I think it's a good thing as well. I guess the big thing I've kind of picked up on, a lot of people think all of a sudden it's going to be turned into a Tyson Farm situation here, which that's not the case. I think, raising, chickens for yourself, for the eggs, I don't have a problem with that. I personally don't want to raise chickens, but I'm in favor for my neighbors to do that. I don't think they'll allow me and my neighbors to do that in Chickahawk, but in Southern Shores, I think it's a good idea. And as the lady pointed out there, we have changed. The town has definitely changed certainly it's changed over the last 20 years I've lived here. So I certainly would hope that the council will consider this and, we can possibly move forward with a plan and answer any of the questions that anyone has on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Just making sure anyone else wants to speak, this is your time. Even if you didn't sign up, I'm happy for anyone that wants to speak to speak. Okay. That's public comment. So at this point, I'm going to say that we're going to do council business. Yes, let's do council business, and then I'm going to call for a quick recess. Council business. Matt, would you like to go first?
I don't have much to add beyond what we've already discussed.
Okay. Mark, would you like to go next?
I think that I didn't really comment on the response to the town on the water main break, but I thought they did a phenomenal job. There's a lot of misinformation out there too as to what happened and everything else, but I think they did just a super job because I went out and drove around and it was hot that day. They were sweating. I didn't have any water either, so but to give them, but they all responded really well. I mean, and Cliff's timeline was pretty much right on. He said it'll be open at 8, and I think it was 7:56. Cliff is when the picture came through, so that was really well done, I thought. So
Very good. Thanks, Mark.
the other thing is I know I already talked about e-bikes. It scares the devil out of me watching these people blow these intersections. And I know we don't want to pass an ordinance or anything like that, but somebody's going to get killed. I mean, it's just going to happen because they're not watching. They're not watching. When I was at the, what's it called, Sheila? That, what is it?
GovEd.
The GovEd. When I was at the GovEd meeting last week, it wasn't just me talking about it. It was Kill Devil Hills. It was Nags Head. They're watching the same thing that's going on in Kitty Hawk. And I think we're going to try to do a video. Is what we're going to try to do to warrant, just to educate people that they have to, when it says bike stop, they got to stop. I mean, they really should. And just like a stop sign. But anyway, I thought that was at GovEd. They do a lot of good things. You see those videos that come out from GovEd. They're really doing a good job. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Leo?
We didn't meet at the tourism board for July, but I do have the information on meals collections and occupancy for the month of May. Meals collections are off 1%. Current year to date, they're up 7%. But what is interesting when you go back and compare May of 2022 to May of 2019, we're up 28%. That's on meals. Wait till you get to the occupancy. Occupancy collections, again, for May was off 5%. Current year to date, they were up 4%. But again, if you're comparing May of 2022 to May of 2019, it's up a whopping 87%. So we've had a tremendous amount of growth here on occupancy and meals.
Is that occupancy whole house rented, but it doesn't count the number of people who are in that
No.
house?
It's dollars, isn't it?
It's dollars.
So there's no.
It's
Yeah,
dollars.
let me
inflation
just
adjustment or
share
anything.
with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious if
It's dollars.
some of the houses are double stacked.
No, it's dollars.
Okay.
Some of them
For
doubled in price
example,
too. So.
For example, the month of May, the dollar collection was 67,998,585 versus May of 2019 of 36,428,842. And in spite of COVID, we got them all here because there was the promotion. This was the place to come. And they're still coming.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, that rate saves us some tax dollars because we'd all be paying more tax dollars per person in Dare County, about the tune of $3,500 to $3,600 a year more per person.
Thank you,
So
Leo.
anyhow, we'll be meeting again in August.
Very good.
Thank you.
Paula?
Really not much, except I did get a number, and I think several of us, we have so many smart people that live in Southern Shores. I mean, way smarter than I am. So a couple of our engineers contacted some of us on town council being very concerned about big trucks going over the bridges in Southern Shores on that Thursday. I mean, it was inevitable that day that they go. And I know that Cliff has followed up with the NCDOT people, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that people that were concerned about that know that Cliff has got that under control. And I don't know if you want to comment on it, but I know there was some concern over what our tonnage limit is and how big some of those trucks were, not to mention just how big they are to go through our town. But this was an emergency situation, and so I just wanted to thank Cliff for being so responsive responsive there, and also in getting those potholes on South Dogwood repaired so quickly, because that was another big concern of people.
Turned out really well. Thanks. I don't have anything. I'm going to call just a 5-minute recess. And then when we come back, we'll have a motion to go into closed session. So 5 minutes, folks.
Yeah, you gotta go on the street.
People think they're speeding.
Not walk up to
So it comes out. And crosswalk.
There he is. Are we ready?
Both ways.
Thank you, Sheila. So we're ready to restart our meeting. At this time, I would very much like to ask a council member to make a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
I think
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries 5-0. We are now officially in closed session. So